Around September 2019, I was attending a Christian church service, although at the time I had already been instructed to not join any churches and I had already stopped participating in pagan holidays and so on and so forth. It was my best friend's church home or home church, I should say, that I would attend, but I wouldn't join. Mind you, they were asking me to join, but I already knew that I wasn't supposed to. Anyway, during what was called benediction, the evangelist who brought the word that day opened up the altar for prayer. That's when I heard Ruach HaKodesh say, "Will you walk with me?" I said yes, and then was instructed to go request prayer. After the evangelist said a general prayer over everyone at the altar, I turned to leave when my best friend's mother-in-law grabbed my arm and said, "You need to ask for what you came to ask for." I told her the exchange I had with Ruach HaKodesh, and then she began to anoint me with oil from my head all the way to my feet. When I woke up the next day, I felt Yahuah's presence very strongly in the room and upon me. Even when I would go to read the Bible, because every morning I would, I still do Bible study, but when I went to go do my Bible study that morning, I could understand Yahuah's written word like I never could before. I didn't understand then what I know now, but I had just received the greatest gift ever, Yahushua HaMashiach. This was a very crucial moment for me, but why? That's what we're going to talk about today. All right, let's get into it. So I was in the process of preparing this message when it became time for the Shabbat lesson today. I paused what I was doing and I tuned in only to receive confirmation after confirmation that it was necessary for me to do this episode. I'm not going to lie, I was curious as to why this wasn't the first episode because of the nature of what I'm discussing. However, when Yahuah first awakens you, he puts you in a sort of a wilderness, if you will. Think of this wilderness as open heart surgery, okay? So you'll be isolated, you'll be prepped for surgery, the operating room will be sterilized, the doctor and assisting nurses will sanitize their hands and put on sterile protective gear. All the sterilization and sanitization is done to prevent foreign bodies from getting into the chest cavity, which could cause infection and possibly kill you. Post-op, you'll remain in the hospital under the care and close watch of nurses until you're fully healed. Then you'll be released to go home. So let's go back and kind of break this down a little bit as much as possible. So the isolation, you'll be removed from the people in your life, i.e. friends, family. When people start to turn away from you or you feel the need to turn away from them, this is why. Your friends and family wouldn't be allowed in the OR during your surgery either. I mean, there's no need for them there. Moving on. All right, so with the preparation, you'll start questioning everything you thought you knew. Those things what used to make sense to you will no longer make sense, and you'll start searching for the truth. I mean, wholeheartedly. Side note, I hate when people say, "I love you from the bottom of my heart." Like, that's literally with whatever's left in there after you get finished loving everything else. Wholeheartedly is how you're supposed to seek the truth. Seek Yahusha, seek Yahuah wholeheartedly with every inch of your soul, of your heart, not with the bottom. Because if it's with the bottom of your heart, then you've loved everything else before you started seeking him. Just a little side note. Okay, so the sterile OR, or operating room. A lot of us were sent into a place unfamiliar to us. For me, it was Michigan. I had no friends, no family. Nothing was familiar to me. And not being familiar with our surroundings makes that soil good to plant a harvest because there are no contaminants in the soil to choke the roots, i.e. old stomping grounds which promote self-destructive habits. Also, I want to mention that it's important to note that when a farmer plants seed in the ground, they don't plant it expecting a harvest to pop up out of the ground in that moment. They understand that there's going to be a season for that harvest to come forth. And there's a lot that's going to be happening in that ground, in that dirt that the farmer can't see before they start to see fruit to produce. Because that's what the harvest is. The harvest is the fruit of the root. Okay? Then when you move on to the clean staff. So obviously Yahuah is the doctor and we know he's already clean. However, he'll place clean or circumcised, children in the operating room to assist him during the surgery. A lot of times these people just point you back toward Yahusha when you start to become frustrated and or weary. I mean, that's what they did for me. But sometimes they can come by way of strangers confirming something to you by way of prophecy, or even you being sent to a specific teacher or teachers, just to give some examples. The angels are also ministering nurses assisting Yahuah in the Ruach or spiritual realm. This is done to prevent the seeds of the enemy, i.e. foreign bodies, entering your chest cavity and causing an infection while your heart is exposed, or your state of vulnerability, if you will. So post-op, more ministering angels and children of Yahuah will be sent to you for your recovery to make sure you're healing properly. And it's important that you heal properly, okay? No bitterness. And then you'll be sent home, or I just put sent in all caps, okay? So then Yahuah will send you out in his name. So Shem is the Hebraic word for name, which means nature, character, or reputation. Onoma is the Grecian word for name, meaning character or authority. So I always just sum it up to mean nature, character, authority, reputation, okay? Congratulations! You've just had your heart circumcised. How does it feel? Probably painful, but you'll be fine. This is a necessary first step when Yahuah awakens you, because he can't send you out in his name, again, nature, character, reputation, authority, if you still have the name, again, nature, character, reputation, authority, you received from the enemy through the covenant of sin, yours and your ancestors, okay? So Yahuah strips you of your old name, again, nature, character, and authority, reputation. I keep repeating it because I just want to make sure that it's getting in there, okay? He strips you of all the false ideologies and doctrines you've been taught. So it's important to learn how to let go in this season, in this wilderness. And he said that to me. That was one of the commandments he gave me. Let go. Which is part of the reason why the first episode, okay, now it's starting to make sense. He didn't tell this to me until I started recording this. So now it makes sense that the first episode was called Child Let Go. Because when I tell you, he just kept telling me to walk away from that, let go of this, let go of that. So it's important that you let go, because you can't grasp onto what he's giving you if you haven't let go of what you had. So he puts you in a place where it's difficult for you to go back to your old name, i.e. ways. He begins to show you your true reflection. So these are those things that I talked about in previous episodes about your true reflection, about the sins and the covenants that we've come into via ourselves and our ancestors, who you really are at the core. Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart of man is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" So we have wicked hearts, you guys. We have wicked hearts, and he has to show that to us. Okay? He's humbling us, if you will. And once he shows this to you, it's important to confess everything you see come out of you. I call it spiritual vomit, hence, don't return to your vomit. That was a commandment that we were given by our King, Yahushua HaMashiach. Don't return to your vomit. That's what he's talking about. Once it comes out of you, don't go back and slurp it back down into your ruach, into your spirit. Then Yahuah will begin to reveal himself to you by showing you his true nature, character, reputation, authority, his name. I mentioned in another episode that I realized in my wilderness that I could not only be raw with Yahuah about how I was feeling during this time, but he welcomed it. I was being intimate with Yahuah and didn't even realize it. But finally, Yahuah will release you, sending you out in his name. Okay, so now he's going to send you out in his nature, character, authority, reputation. You'll be a new creation in Hamashiach. So at the beginning of this wilderness, right after you're awakened, you'll be baptized with Ruach HaKodesh, because he's the one who gives you the power to make it through your wilderness. Okay, you know how the Bible says that you can say whatever you want to about Yahuah and Yahusha, but if you blaspheme the Ruach HaKodesh, that's the unforgivable sin. Reason being is because he is how we receive our power. He is how we receive our instruction. So Ruach HaKodesh is your helper and your comforter during this heart circumcision that you're going through. And when I tell you, I am so glad for Ruach HaKodesh. I also was sent I had my mom, my dad, and my younger brother that I could call, but at the time, none of them were in the truth. My dad has since come into the truth. My mom and my brother haven't, but I had them, but none of them could articulate to me what was going on because none of them had gone through it. So none of them knew what was happening. They just knew that every day I would call them irritated and fussing and whatnot. So I had to go through this somewhat on my own because I didn't have anybody to articulate it for me. But hallelujah, Yahuah, I know the reason why is so I could come back and help others get through their wilderness, because you need people that can articulate to you what you're going through so that they can help you make it through to the other side, to the expected end that Yahuah has for you. And I get it. There were several times I asked Yahuah if I was being punished, but he was quiet during those times. Then Ruach HaKodesh would give me some sort of instruction or revelation, and I would briefly feel better because I knew Yahuah was still there. He's not going to give me instructions and revelation if he's not still walking with me or if I'm not still walking with him. He chastens those he loves. That kept coming to my mind the entire time via Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? So the reason we are separated from our carnal friends and family is because those are the ones we trust the most, for most of us. Some of you don't, and you have good reason not to. But for the majority of people, those are the people that are the closest to us, who we trust the most, and usually are the ones that the enemy is going to use the most. And if they aren't in the truth, they could get you to doubt or turn away from Yahuah during this time of vulnerability, which is exactly what he doesn't want. That's the infection that Yahuah doesn't want to get into your chest cavity, where your heart is. So I know Yahuah told me in 2020 what he was going to do in and through me. 3 years later, and I'm just now starting to see those things manifest. He has to prune you so he can send you out in his name. So he needs to be able to trust that what's in you, i.e. his word, isn't corrupted. It's also his way of training you for the spiritual warfare you'll face when he sends you out, because in your wilderness, you'll learn how to cry out to him and rely on him for everything. Facts. Your wilderness will last as long as he says it will. So yours could be shorter or longer than mine. So don't be like 3 years bet. No, because I was told by a woman today that hers was 11 years. Okay. Shaul's was 13 years. We don't know how long your wilderness is going to be. Yahuah knows though. But don't think about the length. Focus on what he's doing in that wilderness, in and through you, okay? Focus on him and his word and his promises. Oh, and those friends and family you lost will be replaced with your new family, Yasharal. So that's the other good thing. I know it sucks and it hurts because we love our carnal friends and family. But when I tell you my Ruacho family, I love me some them. I love me some Yasharal. I'm just going to go ahead and put that to you right then and there, because in Yasharal, true Yasharal, not the posers, but in true Yasharal, they will gently correct you in love. It's just the way we move and operate with each other. I love it. It's something I've never had before, and I love it. So yes, it hurts and it sucks, but you'll be receiving a family that is submitted to your Father just like you. And that's worth it to me. And then you'll be receiving Yahushua HaMashiach, who's like the cherry on top of the cake. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Yehukanan, or John 6:44 says, "No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draws him, and I will raise him up in the last day." So some people were brought into the awakening by Yahuah, and some people entered in not through Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the door to the sheepfold, but some other way, like head knowledge or traditions of men, for instance. If you're going through this wilderness, then hallelujah, Yahuah, he's drawing you to Yahushua HaMashiach. This is a praise. As much as it might be painful and it might suck, this is a praise. I apologize. I keep saying it sucks. It doesn't suck. As much as it may seem like it's bad, it's not bad. It's for your good, okay? So hallelujah, Yahuah, for Ruach HaKodesh correcting me on that. This is how we know the wheat from the tares. All right. Yahuah 13:24-30 says, another parable he put forth unto them, saying, this is Yahushua talking to his Talmudim, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the house came and said unto him, Adonai, did not you sow good seed in your field? From whence then has it tares? He said unto them, an enemy has done this. The servants said unto him, will you then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather you together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So this heart circumcision that you're going through that might seem like the worst thing that's ever happened to you right now is Yahuah making you into a wheat. You are wheat. That is something to give him praise for. You're not a tare. You are wheat. This is also why Yahushua said in Yahuah 7:21-23, not everyone that says unto me, Adonai, Adonai, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Adonai, Adonai, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name have done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. Iniquity is lawlessness. So Yahushua is saying, I never became intimate with you, or rather, you never became intimate with me. I never placed my word or my seed in you, because that's the seed that he places in us, his word. My Ruach never penetrated your vessel. And remember, these are people saying they came in his nature, character, authority, reputation, i.e. his name. And he's saying, no, you didn't. So your heart circumcision is painful yet necessary in order to be known by the King, Yahushua Mashiach. And there's so much more that could be said on this topic alone. Trust me, there was a lot that was just popping into my head. But I have to end it right here because that's what I was told to. Breadcrumbs, remember. Not here to give you the whole buffet, just here to give you enough to get you to the table, okay? Anyway, as usual, if you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me through replenishme@gmail.com, RIPLENISH me at gmail.com. I almost forgot how to spell it. And I always look forward to hearing from you guys when you do contact me. And of course, much shalom and ahav. And until next time, shalom aleichem.